Morning, Paul. It's Tuesday, the 6th of December. Here's the heads up brief for today.
Excellent, Uday. Go ahead. Thank you.
Paul, in Indonesia, the House of Representatives just ratified the criminal code. There are still several controversial clauses in it. Authorities said that if anyone has a problem, then they can take it up with the Constitutional Court. There were protests yesterday, and these will likely continue today and over the coming days.
Okay, we're just going to be interested to see how it unfolds. It has the potential to go pear-shaped, and as does the spin-on effect of the police trying to do crowd control. Isn't always honky-dory, as we saw in the recent stadium incident. Thank you.
Paul, in Surabaya in East Java, there's been a few incidents of gang-related activity, and police are now conducting anti-gang and criminal operations in the city. A police officer was injured in a clash yesterday. In another incident, a bunch of armed gang members entered a coffee shop and robbed everyone of all their electronics and belongings.
They actually got apprehended, didn't they?
I'll need to check that, Paul, but I think so. They might have.
Yeah, I think local residents actually managed to report their whereabouts and they were arrested. But either way, it's a bad trend. Surabaya is not renowned for gang violence, and in the scheme of things in Java is, apart from a little bit of embedded radical terrorists there, but in terms of civil unrest, it tends to be quite calm. So it's an interesting development. Thank you.
Right. In Papua New Guinea, the police commander in Morobe province said that they need more funding and logistical support to tackle insecurity. He can't do it with the resources that they have at the moment.
And all police commanders at the provincial level and the national police commander all have an extremely valid point when they make such statements. Unfortunately, the government is more apt to spend money on personal needs than it is to worry about civil stability, and that's an unfortunate reality that PNG has not matured past. Its corruption and its abuse of the privilege of public positions as such that it's just not clamped down on enough, and that they're just not a separation of the judicial function. And unfortunately, the police commanders just carry so much weight. They're asked to solve all the problems, but they're supposed to be more on the magician and pluck resources out of thin air. Thanks for that heads up.
Sure, Paul. I thought you'd find this interesting. In Mongolia, thousands of people protested against suspected corruption in the coal industry and rising inflation in the capital yesterday. They're calling on parliament to be dissolved. The country's anti-corruption agency has been investigating over 30 officials, including the head of the state-owned coal mining company, for corruption.
Yeah, and look, this is the real problem in Mongolia. I can't remember the exact number, but there's not many ministers. And the reason the protesters would parliament to be dissolved is when you don't have many ministers, it's very easy to get them all thinking one way by tucking cash into their pockets. And this has been quite extraordinary that Mongolia has not exploded, and ultimately only civil unrest can actually get it under control. But unless you not only dissolve parliament, but also the constitution and have more parliament and more powers for anti-corruption agencies, then really it's just going to delay the inevitable. So unless there's a complete boil over, I'd expect there won't be much change, and there's just too much power in the hands of too few in Mongolia. I am very interested in that. Thank you.
Sure, that's some very helpful context, Paul. Thanks. Moving over to South Asia, in Pakistan, Imran Khan has announced that his party will hold protests in Lahore from tomorrow till December the 17th. They're demanding that authorities hold elections by March, or else they will dissolve the Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa assemblies. So there is a bit of a shift in strategy. He's not going out for the large disruptive protests, but he's trying to build sustained pressure and build up on the political side of things.
I think that's a good move, but it's on the back of underestimating whether he still had or whether he had the power to mobilise people for the Long March. Clearly, he doesn't. So, unfortunately, this is quite a good move, but it would have been a lot better to arrive at that decision before fluffing around with the long expected Long March, which turned out to be a long wait.
Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself. Paul, in Nepal, the existing ruling coalition looks like it will continue, but right now, who will still lead is in question. So when that comes out, we'll have a clearer picture, and I'll update you on that.
Yeah, I'm really waiting to see
Yeah,
who owns what seats and where the power lies. And so look forward to that. Thank you.
yeah, they're still trying to figure out all the details internally. So once we
Yeah,
have that.
yeah,
Paul, in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, the Spanish police seized three envelopes addressed to the Ukrainian embassy in Madrid and consulates in Barcelona and Malaga yesterday. The envelopes contained animal eyes. Now, this comes after there was a letter bomb attack at the
yeah.
Ukrainian embassy. Uh, the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry has said that there's been 21 cases of threats against Ukrainian diplomatic missions in 12 countries.
Okay, that's interesting. Wow, 12 countries. It'd be good to see if that detail comes out, what countries it is, because this is going to be um, an increasingly powerful source of response. So many countries are spending so much money to assist and bearing the brunt of the change in energy prices. And of course, a lot of those countries are European, and they don't see why they should be having their resources consumed and why they should be so heavily a victim in this, especially given it wasn't those countries that turned off the Minsk agreement. So thanks for that. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. Any idea about the whole animal eye thing?
Not sure yet, Paul. We're still looking into it. But just to give you some information, out of the 12 countries mentioned, the authorities haven't revealed the 12 countries, but they've said it's the US, Spain, and Croatia are amongst them.
Okay, interesting. So the envelopes that were sent contained animal eyes, there's no real significance of that. It's just a scare tactic. There's no
It seems to be thus
cultural or
far.
okay, great. Yeah, just keep an eye out on that if you'll excuse the pun.
Yep. All right, Paul. That's a
Cool.
heads up brief
All
for
right,
today.
brilliant. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Paul.